So the following morning in Granada, woken up, had a cracking beer at 10 o'clock in the morning because why not? It's roasting hot. There's quite a bit to see and do. It's a case of happy days. We then booked in to a different hostel just down the road, which was a bit cheaper and had a twin room. It turned out we're the only people in the hostel anyway, which made it quite a cool experience as well. We got used to a couple of things whilst in Nicaragua. Number one was power cuts. They were quite common. You'd be in the middle of a bar or in the middle of doing something. You know, the power goes out, then backup generators have to kick in. So that was quite interesting to be a part of. But Granada itself is a wonderful place. At this point, as we said before, when you're in Latin America, you kind of know what you're going to get from an architectural point of view. You're going to get your main plaza, you're going to get your grid layout, you're going to get your churches, you're going to get your, what I'd call your Spanish-style colonial buildings. Most places look the same, with all due respect. Granada and a few others do stand out. There's a wonderful place in Guatemala that stands out that we'll get to in a later episode. But for Nicaragua itself, for Granada itself, absolutely delightful place to go. A nice place to spend a couple of days. Despite the fact Managua is the capital, historically, apart from the fact Granada's witnessed loads of different battles because it's based on a lake, Granada and Leon, which is in the northwest of Nicaragua, they're pretty much the two main historical places in Nicaragua itself. What made Granada so delightful, or what makes Nicaragua as a country so delightful? Now, number one, probably my favourite country I've ever been to in my life. The people are friendly, they're incredibly courteous, they're very inquisitive peoples, they're delightful to hang around, they're easy to talk to. Nicaragua itself is a beautiful country, loads to see and do. You've got volcanoes, you've got rock boarding, mountain boarding, you name it, you can do it there pretty much. It's relatively inexpensive as well. So that whole combination is ideal really for Nicaragua. It's absolutely beautiful country. I highly recommend going. You'll have a great time. It was about 35 degrees most of our time in Granada. One morning we spent walking up and down the Malecon at the bottom of the road, walking around the old churches, doing a little guided tour, little guided walk. I visited the Chocolate Museum of Granada, highly recommended. Ate quite a lot of the Mercado Municipal as well, and just hung out in the Park Central. Good times. We also saw another great sunset from one of the tops of the churches in Granada as well. I forget the name of the church, but there is one there where you can go up. You go up to the top, and you can just sit up there and watch the sunset over Granada itself. I highly recommend doing that. It's just a delightful place. It's a good place to base yourself, I think, as well, because you can get to Ometepe, which is a volcanic island in the middle of Lago Coquibolca, and you can also get to other places in Nicaragua quite easily from Granada, including Leon, the capital Managua, Masaya, and also our next destination at San Juan del Sur. The other joyous experience of especially Nicaragua and later Guatemala was that they use old school buses as their main mode of transport. Now, these things aren't the most comfortable things in the world, I won't lie. You can cram a lot of people into them as well, and even by my standards, 5'7.5", there's not a lot of legroom in them at all. They haven't seemed to remove the seats from the school kids' days, so it's pretty chaotic getting on a bus in Nicaragua itself. But we headed off to San Juan del Sur, a tiny little place in the southwest of Nicaragua. We were originally meant to go there first, but because of the issues at the border crossing, we didn't end up going there. But we got there and we spent a few days there. A very nice beach resort, loads to see and do, a bit of hiking to do that we've done. The beach is a very wonderful beach, Playa San Juan del Sur. We played a lot of paddle boarding. That's definitely not the right sport. Basically had almost like a ping pong set, and the aim of the game was, rather than a hacky sack which we had back in Vietnam and across the USA in 2011, this was a case of bat and ball, basically Can you keep hitting it to each other? How long can you keep the rally going? Can you test each other with, angled shots? How good are your reflexes? It kept us active for quite a while. It was good fun. Although I don't remember what our highest rally was. We were playing that for quite a lot of time on the beach. It was a relaxing pace, but it was inexpensive. Everything was inexpensive, as we've said before. Went out for a few beers, one evening, loads of different bars. But we started to notice it's getting quite Americanised now, not great. But it was January and it was time for playoff football. Now, if you remember, back in Santiago, down in Chile, we spent one evening watching the New England Patriots get absolutely decimated by Kansas City. And as a Jets fan, don't feel sorry for me, we're in the same division as New England. New England are your sort of main rivals. It's one of the biggest rivalries in the NFL, American football. I was loving it. However, you could probably guess what was going to happen anyway the minute I mentioned it in Santiago. But in a nutshell, we found an American bar on the beach. And yes, there's quite a lot of, expats, we say, down in Nicaragua at the time. We, in effect, reserved a table for all the playoff games on the Saturday and the Sunday. So we'd spend all day just watching football one after another. We might get a bottle of rum each day, sit there, order some food, enjoy watching the football. Which is exactly what we did. You've got the beach out to your left-hand side, you've got big TVs, all the American sports happening, everyone talking football, around you as well. Lovely times. Really good way to spend a couple of days. And of course, New England. Being New England, the Patriots were in the playoffs, and the game they played against the Baltimore Ravens, hands down, a brilliant game. There were a couple of times when there were a couple of touchdowns. They were about 14 points behind Baltimore. They kept coming back, and they ended up winning. And it was an extraordinary game. We enjoyed watching it, but the atmosphere around the bar, from even people that weren't New England fans, but they were American, we kind of went on their... they loved it. They were loving it. And the fact that they thought it was a great game kind of means that it must have been a good game. Aaron and I both love our American football. He's a Seattle Seahawks fan. I'm a New York Jets fan. He obviously has a lot more success than the Jets do. But it was a good way to spend a couple of days. Now, a couple of things happened when we were in San Juan del Sur. There's a funny story that Aaron had with a Dutch person at the hostel. And I'm not able to ever tell this story as good as he can do it. But what we do like from speaking to a lot of Dutch people is there's, like me with a lisp, there's a bit of an extra pronunciation on a few words when they're speaking English. And I was sleeping one afternoon and Aaron had gone for a shower and he'd come out and this guy who he knew was Dutch because he'd spoken to him before, and the guy said, is your shower free? Something along those lines. And Aaron, just without thinking about it, he said, yes, go crazy. To which the guy then repeated, you speak Dutch. I wasn't there for that, but Aaron said he was in tears. He said it was absolutely, he was crying because he'd made a flippant remark without thinking about it, and then the guy thought he was speaking Dutch, or thought he was Dutch for some reason. Just incredible stuff. But San Juan del Sur, I'm not going to sit here and lay claim that I got malaria and all this sort of stuff. But something must have happened in San Juan del Sur, whether it was something I ate or whether I got bitten by a mosquito. But it pretty much wiped me out for the next couple of weeks. The next couple of weeks were, for myself, or maybe not 2 weeks, might have been 7 days, 10 days. They were not pleasant. I was in bed most of the time, fever, felt like arse, probably looked like arse as well. So, despite the fact I still say that Nicaragua is my favourite country that I've been to, I don't remember a lot of it because it was, a lot of sweat, cold sweats, etc., etc., etc. But does that mean I got malaria? I don't know. It might as well have been. It felt disgusting, to be perfectly honest with you. All that being said, the next week was a bit tough in terms of dragging myself around and doing things. But from memory, what we done from San Juan del Sur, we went back to Granada, only for a quick stopover. We decided from San Juan del Sur, we didn't want to go to the capital, Managua. No point. There wasn't really a lot going on there from memory, especially when there's a few other towns in and around Nicaragua as well. But in order to get to Leon, we had to go back to Granada on the good old chicken bus. We had to get what might have been a chicken bus, but could have been a collectivo from basically like a minibus from Granada to Managua, change at Managua bus station, and head up to Leon. We'd also met a couple of Americans in our time in San Juan del Sur. I know Joe was one of the guys. I forget the other guy's name. Apologies to the other guy. I forget his name. But we hung out for about a week or so as well. Thankfully we did, because I was pretty much in bed for most of the time in Leon. We finally got to Leon. We had a bit of a debate and an argument. Again, feeling like absolute arsehole. I just wasn't in the mood. I needed to lie down. I wanted to lie down. I didn't want anything to do. So I think we all had a bit of an argument as a group. Ended up getting to a hostel that we booked in. I just went to bed pretty much for about 3 days. I was not very well at all. Finally, as with things, you've got to keep pushing yourself. Now, I don't know what Joe, the other guy, and Aaron ended up doing. They ended up doing whatever they were doing. Finally did go out for a little walk as well. And also at some point, we went volcano boarding, which is like sandboarding, but you do it on a volcano instead. To drag myself up to do that. The dangerous thing about going out at that time was, and again, if you've had these things before, it's pretty much a case of, that without sounding too grotesque about it, you need to be very near a toilet, because you sometimes just don't know what end it's going to come out of and how much force there's going to be there as well. But slowly but surely, dragged myself back out, dragged myself into doing it. So we'd all gone for a little walk around Leon, very pleasant place, I have to say. I don't remember the name of the volcano that we went up to do volcano boarding, but we did go up and do volcano boarding, and it was a great experience. It was a wonderful trek up to the top. It was quite intimidating going down, and we had a competition to see who could get down quickest. Needless to say, it definitely wasn't me, despite the weight advantage I think I had. Myself and the other chap were quite late getting down because we'd gone sideways. Aaron and Joe had gone pretty much straight down to the bottom. The volcano boarding was a very good experience, to say the least. The other thing we done, and again, don't remember the name of it. It could be one of many different volcanoes, but we went to take a little minibus journey up to an active volcano. Now, quite possibly, this could have been the Volcan Santa Clara, it could have been the Volcan del Ica, it could have been the Volcan del Hoyo, or Hoyo. It could have been a number of them. I don't remember what volcano it was, but we went up to an active volcano. Two things to remember about the trip. Number one, the tarmac aspect of the road, 'cause I still wasn't very well, the tarmac aspect of the road was fine. When it came on to going up and down stones, bobbling up and down, it felt like a nuclear attack in my bowels. Not very, very good. I think I spent more time concentrating about not shitting myself than actually paying attention to any conversation that was being taken place on the minibus itself. Health and safety is relatively non-existent in that part of the world, and that's a good thing to an extent. Because we got to the top of the volcano, we parked up on a minibus parked up. We'd walked up to the top of the volcano, and it's now night time, so it's pretty dark. You're not really able to see a lot. Everyone's got their flashlights out that we were given, so you can see all the flashlights. And then the tour guide basically said, if you want to look into an active volcano, feel free. It's you're right next to it, feel free. But he said, of course, be careful. If you're going to go and have a look at it, crawl up to it. Pretty much get on your hands and knees and crawl up to it. Do not just walk up to it, because if you fall in, and I've said this many times, you're going to be toast. Well, pretty much you would be if you fall into a big set of lava. So he said, crawl up to it, be very careful. He said, I appreciate it's night time, but you'll be able to see it, the fact it's active, because you'll be able to see the lava. Okay, good times. Now, not everyone done it, but I definitely did it. Crawled up, still thinking I might shit myself at any point, by the way. Crawled up to the edge of this volcano, and as well as hearing it, because the sounds that a volcano makes are impressive at the best of times, it just peered over into the peered over the edge. Bear in mind now it's pitch black, so you got a couple of stars out, and got the moon, blah 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 blah. It's pitch black. Just looking over into the edge, and you can just see this pool of red, amber, orange, just bubbling away ferociously. Bubble, bubble, bubble. Just sat there, laid there for about 10 minutes, just admiring it. I think there was a collective, when people had gone across and had a look in. There's that collective sound. Just mesmerising. Absolutely mesmerising. Even better, there was no, like loads of guardrails and this and that and this and that. It was like, take responsibility for it. If you're going to look into it, be responsible. If you fall in, it's your own fault. I kind of like that attitude, in all fairness. But yeah, looking into this volcano was just brilliant. I would say go and check the photos out, but the photos, it's one of those things where the photos just won't do it justice. There's just no point checking it out. And again, I think it might have been the Volcan de Rica, it could have been the Volcan Santa Clara, it could have been one of the other numerous volcanoes in and around Leon. But what an experience. What wasn't enjoyable was the minibus ride back, because at this point I really felt like I needed a shit. And lo and behold, that was dealt with the minute I got back into the hostel. I would say you've never seen me move so fast. The Pelican in the Galapagos definitely takes precedent. I've definitely never moved so fast, but this has got to be a close second in terms of my movement and my speed. And that was Leon. We ended up that evening having a walk around. There's a local place doing some good barbecue. So we ended up having a bit of that. I was starting to get my energy back slowly but surely. The other guys were, of course, absolutely fine. And we decided from there, what we would do. Aaron wanted to head over to a place initially called La Ceiba, and an island called Udilla, which is in the Caribbean Sea. Technically, it's a part of Honduras. The reason for that is he wanted to do his PADI certificate, so the diving stuff. He wanted to take some time out and do that. So we said we would head over there. But of course, in order to head there, we had to go through Honduras. Honduras has got a very bad rep for many a good reason, very dangerous, etc, etc, etc. So we knew we had to get to La Ceiba. To do that in a day from Leon was pretty much impossible, especially by bus. But we knew that it was doable from a place called Esteli. Esteli being the cigar capital pretty much of Nicaragua. And that's where we're going to take off on next week's episode. So join us when we watch more football, but we also enjoy some cracking cigars as well. And I still don't learn my border lesson from last time. Hasta luego.